It's time now for another of our legislative reports on J-98 with State Senator Jason Crowell. And, Senator, when we look back at the week that was in Jefferson City, you say a lot of time is still being spent on getting everything organized and all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, right?
Yeah, we have had a chance to start now processing the governor's proposed budget. The governor gave his State of the State address where he highlights some of the priorities that he would request that the General Assembly look at. So we've been able to digest some of those and are really gearing into the appropriations process, the state budget process. That's really where it's going to be at this session, in my opinion, coming to terms with the state of Missouri that's now coming off of the federal stabilization funds, the budget gaps that we have, and really doing the hard grown-up work and having an honest discussion, a kitchen table discussion with everyone around the state of how we differentiate between a want, a desire, and a need. And we have to fund our needs first. And to me, that's education, K through 12 education funding. And I was very, very disappointed as I read more into the governor's budget, how he is still neglecting our outstate schools in transportation line item funding. Over the next 2 years, the governor's withholds and proposed cuts would eliminate $120 million to K through 12 education transportation line item funding. Now, schools aren't going to stop running their buses. And as a result of that funding going away, classrooms will suffer. And it's unfortunate priorities that the governor has made. We're going to have to address those. We're going to have to change those in the General Assembly, both House and Senate. And I think we're going to be very, very involved in doing so.
And, Senator, last week we talked about the committees you'll be serving on, but right now you're kind of putting the structure of those committees together, aren't you?
Yeah, we really wanted to see the governor's budget. As I said, our budget, getting our fiscal house in order, is going to be a rather large task. This General Assembly, the governor's budget is really, again, a lot of one-time money, smoke and mirrors, and doesn't structurally address where we find ourselves. So the General Assembly is going to have to step up and do that, which the governor refuses to do, be a grown-up and really come forward in crafting a budget that puts our priorities, such as education, first and foremost. And we really spent a lot of time doing that. We also will begin next week hearing our economic development packages so that we can get jobs, open Missouri back up to employers. Those will include right-to-work changes, economic development changes, as well as minimum wage and in incentive changes. Everything is on the table as we move forward because jobs are our number one priority.
Sounds like you're going to really get busy next week because you'll also continue work on redistricting, won't you?
We will. I serve on the redistricting committee. We got our first round of data from the federal government, so we can start combing over that data as we start redrawing the districts and seeing, where the population has shifted. It was a devastating blow, not a Republican or Democratic blow, for us to lose a congressman in the state. It diminishes Missouri's prestige, if you will, in our nation, and it's an unfortunate circumstance that we'll have to address this year, and it's going to be very difficult, a lot of work. We'll start hearings around the state so that citizens can give us input on what their thoughts are of having adjoining communities together and the homogenation of communities and the coming together of communities as we draw these districts. And those will start in early February and last all the way through February.
When will you have a final plan that you'll present?
I think ultimately, as it relates to redistricting, we'll start getting a feel probably towards the end of March. It's just going to take that long before we get the data and we can get the public testimony in and start inputting that data into the computer models. But hopefully by the end of March, we'll start getting a feel for where the population lies and what we have to do to have a fair and representative map for all of our congressional members of Congress.
Senator, as always, we appreciate the visit. We'll look forward to hearing from you again next week.
Hey, thanks so much and have a great week.
And again, that's State Senator Jason Crowell.